Hello and welcome to Dunnottar Castle in Aberdeenshire. This ruined medieval fortress once hid the Scottish crown jewels from Oliver Cromwell's marauding army, but today is home to 8 artists going for gold. Prepare for a cliffhanger. It's a brand new series of Landscape Artist of the Year. From 2,000 applications, our judges have chosen 48 of the UK and Ireland's most talented artists to take part in 6 extraordinary heats, using everything from pens and paints to lino and collage.
Apart from not having 3 hands, it's going great.
How much time have we got? Can I finish tomorrow?
From urban panoramas to historic battlements.
It's romantic and it's full of brooding mystery.
If I had to sum you up, romantic and full of brooding mystery would be pretty good. Producing spectacular artworks, whilst battling the changeable British weather.
I'm having a real problem today. I'm having to secure everything because it keeps blowing away.
They have just 4 hours to produce an artwork that could catapult them through to the semi-final. At stake is a prestigious £10,000 commission for the Science Museum to create an artwork celebrating the Orkney Islands and their key role in the sustainable energy revolution. But first, their artistic talent must be assessed by our trio of judges. Kate Bryan, Kathleen Soriano and Tai Shan Scherenberg.
Once you've done the printing, you don't go back and draw over the top.
Oh, no, you're right, I do. Sorry. Yes, I do a lot of things.
God damn it.
In each heat, we're joined by 50 additional artists, our magnificent wildcards, always on hand to paint the unexpected.
Serena, we've given you a beautiful castle over here. Stunning, enigmatic. You've painted that cliff over there.
So take a seat and grab a cuppa whilst we begin our hunt for this year's Landscape Artist of the Year.
It's too horizon-y.
It's like the head on a pint of beer.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the happiest I've seen you all day. Today, 8 artists have travelled the length and breadth of the British Isles to be with us at Dunnottar Castle. We have London-based fine art graduate Henry McAlpine. From Devon, textile artist Alison Waitley. Jen Maidment, a contemporary portrait and landscape artist from Caerphilly. And Kat Croxford, an expressive artist from Buckingham.
It's fabulous being here, and there's a wonderful fish on in the air. I'm very excited.
Alongside them, we have Jess Gale, a contemporary artist from Dorset, Polish artist and care worker David Shab, Simon Blackley, a textile designer from Blackburn, and finally Canadian printmaker Christina Chan.
It's been a whirlwind of emotions, and for the most part right now, I'm excited, and in 5 minutes, I'll be nervous again.
It's time for the artists to settle into their pods, where the submission artworks that secured their place in the competition are now on display. And there's just enough time to contemplate the challenges of the view in front of them. Artists, you have 4 hours to complete your winning masterpieces. Wish you all the best of luck. Your time starts now. Today's artists are perched on a cliff, looking out over the North Sea and a dramatic, rocky headland, home to the ruins of Dunnottar Castle. Stretching out on either side is the rugged Aberdeenshire coastline. And as the early morning sun rises behind the castle, the buildings are plunged into darkness.
What worries me most currently is the sun, right in my eyes and casting a lot of shadows, but I think the more it's moving back, the more I can see what I'm looking at.
The big challenge for me today would be to try and represent the castle accurately, but at the same time, get the softness of the grass and the sort of sharpness of the rock.
This is unbelievable, isn't it? It must be one of our most jaw-dropping locations ever. I think what I want from these artists today is a sense of just quite how extraordinary the coastline is.
Yeah, but it's also history, isn't it? You know, look at that castle, the battles that have been fought in and around it. So I'm hoping that our artists will capture some of that mood. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the sun. It's going to move that way over the course of the day, and that will completely transform the shape of the castle.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the other issue that they've got is that the castle is here in the middle ground. They can't really come at it from this angle or that angle. We might end up in a situation where we've got 8 works that look very, very similar. And actually, someone might just give us an amazing study of the clouds and leave the castle out of it. You don't know. Ooh. Yeah. They're artists. They do what they like.
Faced with an infinite expanse of sky and sea, as well as a full frontal castle, the first task for our artists is to decide how much of the view to take on.
The landscapes I'm drawn to normally involve a big sky, open spaces. I think this space between the lump of rock where the castle is and the opposite headland is creating this nice void, and I think that might make quite an interesting composition.
Jess Gale is from Dorset. Her submission depicts another of Scotland's great landscapes, the sparsely populated Isle of Jura, and was produced in 4 hours using acrylic, oils and oil sticks.
Morning, Jess. We took your order. We ordered the sky. It feels in your submission as if it's something that's done really quickly, and actually one of the secrets is to keep that life and energy in it. Is that how it happens?
Yes, I do work fast. I like how that translates as a loose and expressive painting.
Yes. So you decided to push the castle off to one side?
Yes, yes. I like this space in between. I'm just reworking the composition so it's not dead centre.
Well, let's hope the colour of the sky stays as blue as you have it.
Yeah, it's a bit Caribbean at the moment.
Whilst most of our competitors today are working in oils and acrylics, our next artist has been raiding the haberdashery.
Alison, you've overlaid one bit of cloth with another bit of cloth, and it's blending. It's like painting.
Yeah, it's textile and mixed media art. I'll probably be using mainly textiles today. And this is how I blend, using shears and semi-shear fabrics.
Shears and semi-shears. Cool.
Alison Waitley from Devon uses overlaid, embroidered textiles to create atmospheric landscapes. Her submission took 20 hours to create and depicts Otter Head in Devon.
Alison, your submission, it's a very moody scene.
Yeah, I have a very sort of watercolour-y feel to my work.
In the sense you are more of a painter than a drawer.
Yes, in a way, I'm painting with fabric. I'm looking at the horizon. I've used this piece of scarf because it's darker here and then it grades out to a paler colour, which is exactly what's happening on this. Yes.
I mean, I can't stop smiling because I'm looking at the horizon, Alison, and this is exactly the right tone, and you make it look very easy.
Just down the path and up a hill, another gaggle of artists are perching themselves and all of their painting paraphernalia on the next headland. It's our 50 wildcards, bringing their own sense of festival to the day's painting.
It feels like just a very kind of community vibe, and everyone just mostly out for the fun of it, as opposed to being hardline competitive.
But you've got to be in it to win it. And only one artist will be chosen today to go into a pool of wildcard winners, just one of whom will be selected for a place in the semi-final.
I'm hoping as the day progresses, the sun will cast a nice shadow on the left side, and you got this nice, godly, beautiful baby blue sea. Definitely going to capture that on my painting.
Hi, Daisy. Where are you from?
Stoke-on-Trent.
You don't get views like this in Stoke-on-Trent.
No, you don't. No. Furthest away from the sea as possible.
But you have Robbie Williams, so...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's true. Swings and roundabouts. Although some of our artists today are used to plein-air painting, for others adapting their process to working in a field on the side of a cliff is a different kettle of fish.
I've mapped out my composition. I'm going to be kind of flitting across, drawing, painting, printing, and usually create my work in the studio. I'm going to try and bring it out here, obviously seamlessly and without any problems whatsoever.
Christina Chan moved to the UK from Canada to study printmaking in London. She creates her works by sketching out her composition before pressing it onto a layer of ink and drawing or painting over the top, as seen in her submission landscape of the Australian bush.
So, Christina, let's talk about your submission. It's very atmospheric.
Yes, it's made through building up layers of tone.
And you've done the drawing of the rock and the castle.
Yes. So right now I'm just setting up to do some printing on top.
OK.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll ink onto the acetate. I then press it into the paper.
And then you peel it off, and you're never quite sure what it's going to be like. And that's part of the joy of it.
It's part of the joy, it's part of the stress. It's...
OK.
What happens when you turn up to an art competition with small, square canvases and you're faced with a broad, horizontal vista?
Composition is absolutely critical, and it's very difficult what we've got in front of us. It's just making sure I can capture everything of it, really. I've decided to go for 3 paintings, so now I can get the full width as a panoramic.
Simon Blackley from Lancashire works as a sales director at a textiles company. His Hopper-esque submission depicts a petrol station in Blackburn and features strong contrasts in light and shade.
Morning, Simon.
Hello.
You're suddenly going with this triptych. You're going to give us something really panoramic.
Yeah, I've actually gone completely off piece. I think I'll be OK. I'll get the castle in its full width and some of the sea behind as well. Drawing, for me, is the most important part, so if I don't get that right, then it's just not going to work for me.
So tell me a bit about your submission. I love it. I mean, it is really just like the back of a garage.
I try and find sort of ugly views and try and make them beautiful.
You'll be gutted today that there's no petrol station that comes with our medieval castle.
No petrol station, no bins, no skips, nothing really, so...
I'm sorry about all this beauty.
The artists are nearing the end of their first hour.
So this first layer of print is just a bit of grey, kind of working in the sky. I've mixed it a bit light, but I'm just going to continue and build, really.
I just sort of changed the composition because the sea was too in the middle of the painting, and hopefully that's going to work. But yeah, can't believe an hour has already gone.
I'm doing all right. I've just changed my mind about the fabric that I want to use for the castle, so I'm just having a recut, but we'll see how we get on.
Perched on a cliff in northeast Scotland, our 8 artists are finding their sea legs as they tackle this immense view. For one, the interplay of the morning sunlight and the dark castle walls is playing to her strengths.
I like high contrast and I like strong colours. So I start on a black underpaint, so I have to layer up the paint in order to get to those lightest areas, and it gives it a little bit of drama.
Kat Croxford is based in Buckingham. Her works, painted in acrylics, feature ancient forests, as seen in her submission, which captures the evening light peeking through a canopy of leaves.
Your submission, I mean, it looks like a beautiful forest with the light coming through. And the way that you paint in these fantastic blocks, It's sort of like pointillism on a bigger scale. And you're painting on black today.
Yeah.
It's a thief of light. Why do you use it?
Oh, well, I like that idea of being a thief of colour because I'm the one that's going to bring the colour back to it. I feel like a magician. I'm conjuring this light into existence.
Yeah, I like it. You really see that in the undulations of the rock there and the greenery. I mean, that black really helps you get that contrast quite quickly.
Yeah, and that's the aim. It's almost a cheat, really.
Well, I like it. Very tantalising.
Thanks so much.
So I would describe my style as distorted realism. So when I'm looking at the view in front of me, I'm trying to break down the different tones that I see in order to create a sense of energy. I don't really work with buildings, so it's going to be quite interesting to see how my style and the solid structure interact.
Fine art graduate Henry McAlpine is based in London. His work is strongly inspired by the bold, distorted style of the Futurist movement, and his submission depicts the view from his childhood home in Northumberland.
Henry, you crazy futurist. This is the sky you're tackling. What's happening out there?
So I've gone for quite a dominant sky. I think a lot of the shapes do kind of come from the clouds.
And once you get one shape in, does that sort of suggest another?
I think there's a slightly sort of improvised rhythm to it.
I like that. It's a bit like music.
A little bit, yeah.
Now, let's talk about your submission. The shapes, in no sense, make absolutely no sense.
I like having something that is almost identifiable, but not being able to pick it out straight away.
You like your viewers to have to work for it.
Yes.
What a magnificent spot.
It's just so full of every romantic idea one has of castles.
Yeah. We talk a lot about the million shades of green on landscape, but we don't talk as much about blue. And we have a lot of different types of blue here, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it has got blue in it. No, it's...
What's that? What are you doing there?
I'm isolating the colour. So it's kind of, it is a panoply of blues. I'd love to paint it, and at the same time, we're going, no, watch out.
So the dangers are?
National Trust postcard.
Right.
A nice little illustration for Children's Book of Castles. But why not?
That's my question.
Yeah. So, yes, no, it's beautiful, it's, you know, romantic, and it's full of brooding mystery. I hope our artists find something else to it.
I mean, if I had to sum you up in a sentence, romantic and full of brooding mystery would be pretty good.
I'll take that.
Refusing to be flustered by all of this emotion, one of our artists has opted for a methodical approach to her painting.
I love to paint in flat blobs of colour, building a painting sort of like it's a puzzle. I guess it's a little bit like paint by numbers with my own sort of colour choices. I do want some detail, but I do like quite big flat areas of colour as well.
Jen Maidment is a contemporary artist based in Caerphilly. Her artwork combines a graphic, blocked-out style with passages of painterliness, as seen in her submission, which depicts a friend in her garden.
Jen, when I think about your submission piece, obviously, you know, it's very verdant and green, and you have a way in which you treat the green as well.
It's quite graphic.
Graphic, yeah. Will you be able to do that here today?
I hope so, yeah.
Will we see those similar sort of groupings of shapes like you did in your submission?
That's what I'm aiming for, yeah.
OK.
It's still a form of realism.
OK.
But the closer up you get, you realise that that's a pattern.
Well, you've made an interesting start.
Thank you.
They say you can witness every season in one day in Scotland. So, after a morning of sun, how will the artists adapt to the challenges of today's unpredictable weather?
For me, personally, to paint landscape is the most important is, I think, is light. So I usually choose the subjects with the strong contrast between sun, light, and shadows. Today, the sunshine is lovely on these cliffs, so I can see in my mind the painting already.
Care worker David Shab is from Poland and now lives in Bristol. His submission, painted in his characteristic bright colour palette, depicts a winter scene from his hometown.
So, David, let's talk about your submission. The apartment blocks don't look particularly attractive, but it's a very happy painting.
I try to find a happy, sunny way to paint all my
Okay.
paintings. I don't have a grey and sad paintings.
Okay. This morning it was sunny. Now the weather's moving in. Does that matter?
Sun and light is very important to me. This morning was lovely sunshine. I try to keep in my mind what I saw in the morning.
Okay.
So that's why it's a nice and light green here.
Well, look, it's looking very joyful, and I love your mark making, so please continue.
Over on the next headland, our 50 wildcard artists are well underway with their coastal masterpieces. Keeping an outdoor workstation tidy can be difficult, but one artist has thought of something absorbent enough to deal with any mess.
I do pastels and I'm doing ink, and it gets really messy. So in my hand here is my very trusty nappy to wipe off all the stuff and wipe my hands off.
I love this very different approach that you've taken, where we're seeing this sky which almost feels nocturnal.
It's slightly not how I anticipated it coming out, to be honest, but I work with brush shows, so it's very organic. It's just good to go with whatever it does.
I think it gives it a really kind of mystical, magical feeling.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
What are you hoping to see with your binoculars?
There were a few boats out there in the sea,
right.
and there might have been a dolphin.
There might be a dolphin or two passing
Yeah.
by. You can see what's going on in the pods without having to go over there.
Absolutely.
Right. Wake me up when it's time to announce the winner. As I bed down for a nap, my friend with the binoculars tells me the pod artists are nearing the halfway mark in the competition.
It takes a lot of layers to cover the black, which is good because that first layer, I can work out a lot of problems. So it'll get there, it'll get there.
It's a work in progress at the moment. I'm just fixating on the water a little bit and trying to identify the shapes that I can use to create that composition.
I'm concerned about colour choice. It's very wishy-washy at the moment. I'm also worried about bugs sticking to it. There's a lot of like little tiny flies. I don't want to die in my painting.
In Aberdeenshire, 8 artists are working on their interpretations of dramatic Dunnottar Castle. And a change of weather has caused a blustery start to the afternoon.
So I've used some tree bark just to give a little bit more of a 3D effect, really. I'm having a real problem today with the wind blowing everything away. I'm having to secure everything because it keeps blowing away.
I feel like now that the wind has picked up, the water is very much affected by wind. It gives me that extra sense of energy, which is quite nice.
Christina, there's lots of different processes happening. I can see that you've got your printing materials.
I tried to make a little makeshift printing station, which all in all worked, except the wind picked up.
Ah, well, the wind will do that.
I'm using this really thin Japanese paper, so every time I went to kind of put it back, take a step back and look at it, it would fly.
Whip around.
You know, it just went for a walk.
You were lucky it didn't go too far.
So then basically decided I was gonna paint into it, draw into it, and adjust on site. I mean, with views like this, why limit yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
At the halfway point, it's time to get wind of how the artists are doing. So today, 21st century art meets 15th and 16th century ruins. Who's winning?
I think the artists are winning, but they're all doing it very, very much on their own principles.
Alison has just sewn some wood onto her painting, which is not something I say very often.
Yeah, Alison's clearly interested in mixed media. The issue you've got when you add in those kind of elements from the area is that it can get crafty very quickly and it can seem like a less serious piece of art.
I think Alice is very good at matching what she sees with overlaid bits of cloth. And now she's got to the castle, the equivalent she's finding is a bit too much, almost. So I think she's got to try to bring a subtlety into it.
How's Henry and his futurism getting on?
I'm a real sucker for the futurist, and Henry is making it utterly relevant and compelling today. And I really like the fact that he's been challenged because he doesn't normally paint any object. And actually now he's got to deal with the castle. And I love his treatment on it, actually.
And it does talk about today. Somehow I'm sitting in this wind here, and yeah, Henry's talking about the wind. You know, there's stuff moving. It's wonderful.
How's Kat getting on?
She's really joyously painting. Working on that black ground gives it such strong contrast immediately. I'm worried about the way that she'll paint the sky and the sea because we can't just have the same effect over the whole thing.
At the moment, I see the fragmentation of what she's building too much, so I'm really distracted by the little square shapes.
Jen loves green. How's she getting on?
Well, Jen's elevated the castle in order to get as much of that green in as possible. Of course, she deals with it in a very stylised way, so she can put it on really, really quickly, and then she has to worry away at the edges, and that's where the time constraints come in.
Jen's submission was pattern, it was graphic, and that's what makes it so interesting to look at. And at the moment, I think Jen's got this castle which she's unfamiliar with, and so she can't play with those different modes.
Christina's landscape is emerging, sort of quite ethereal, isn't it?
I just hope that Christina doesn't do too much more. It's ghostly, it feels otherworldly, it certainly feels removed in time and space.
It's interesting seeing an artist struggle with their materials. Christina was trying to sort of use the monoprint as a transfer of colour, and now I think she's gone to hell with it and started painting onto the paper itself, and her mark making is really beautiful.
Simon's giving us a triptych. Is that a good decision?
The three paintings, if you put them together, give you an almost 180-degree view of the landscape, which is, of course, what we're trying to absorb with our own eyes. And Simon seems to be embracing that.
I'm curious, what's it going to look like? Are we going to get something much more abstracted and painterly compared to the submission?
David's giving us a very bold painting.
It's full of joy, and the way he puts the paint on, and his sort of the extraordinary way he sort of turns the colour up to 11. And it was looking absolutely fantastic. And then he just dialed the joy up to 11 as well, which included a little boat.
And the birds.
And the birds.
I think he's going to have a tough afternoon for us. For us to really believe in this picture, to feel that it's got, like, meaning and values associated with this place.
Jess has just flipped her painting upside down.
Jess had a painting down with the first hour, I think. Right. She had a very good composition where you saw the sea through the two sides of the two cliffs. And since then, she's been fussing around.
Yeah, I really hope that actually Jess finishes what she's got because it's beautiful. It's an amazing cloud study. And it's the kind of painting that will die a death if she keeps working at it.
Well, delightful to listen to your thoughts, as always. Who knows what the afternoon will throw at us, and who knows what the weather will do, because it's sunny again. We've had it all today.
Gorgeous.
Back at the pods, every decision the artists make is crucial to the success of their artworks.
I'm still deciding whether to put the fence in. I've started to put it in. It's quite a nice compositional tool to lead the eye, particularly where it's going, because it's going down this wonderful diagonal down. But I don't want it to look chocolate boxy or twee.
Hi, Simon. It's an incredible spot. And to think of all the history that's been there, I mean, does that impact the way you approach it?
So I put a touch of red to the bottom of the painting to, I guess, to give some signature back to in the history of the castle, thinking that the castle's not always been a nice place and there could be a bit of evil lurking in the castle.
Bloody episodes.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't pleasant in there at one point.
With its strategic position overlooking the North Sea, there has been a fortress on this rocky outcrop since 400 AD. In the 14th century, Sir William Keith, advisor to Scottish King Robert III, built the first stone castle. And for the next 300 years, his family used it as a base for resistance against the English crown. In the mid-1600s, during the Anglo-Scottish War, the castle was the hiding place for the Scottish crown jewels, the honours of Scotland.
The honours of Scotland would have typically been kept down in Edinburgh Castle, but they were moved here in 1651 to try to safeguard them when Oliver Cromwell entered Scotland with the aim of destroying them. They were here for 8 months, Cromwell's forces were camped outside. Once they started bombarding the castle, the forces inside surrendered. But the honours had actually been smuggled out. They were thought to have been lowered down the side of the cliff to the beach and taken away by ladies who smuggled them in baskets of seaweed.
But following their support for the ill-fated Jacobite Rising of 1715, the Keith family was stripped by the English of their title and lands.
After the Keith family forfeited the castle, it was bought by the York Mining Company, and they basically came in and took away anything of value and left it as the shell it is today.
Over the next 200 years, Dunnottar Castle fell into ruins, until 1919, when it was bought by the Pearson family, who set about preserving what was left of the castle in recognition of its historic role in the story of Scottish resistance. Down on the cliffs, the sun is nearly setting on the wildcard's day of painting.
It's going okay, I think. It's like the cake's about to go in the oven, but you don't really know until it comes out and taste it, then you realise you've forgotten the salt or forgotten it. That's my analogy.
Hello. Serena, we're giving you a beautiful castle over here. Stunning, enigmatic, beautifully placed. You've painted that cliff over there. What's that all about?
I think I'm probably a bit too intimidated by the castle.
Ah, OK.
But I do love cliffs and more landscape rather than buildings.
Well, it's looking great at the minute. Whether my fellow judges will be expecting a castle, I don't know.
And that moment has arrived. Our three judges must now choose just one of the artworks produced today.
Hello. Hello. You're our wildcard winner. I just love the way that you've just done something full of narrative and meaning, but it's still representative of the castle. So congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
And it's Rebecca Patterson's atmospheric nighttime scene that's the judge's favourite.
I can't believe it. It's amazing. I was so surprised to be chosen. I just did not expect it at all. Just incredible people here, so just unbelievable.
Rebecca from Aberdeen will enter a pool of wildcard winners from all 6 heats, just one of whom will be chosen to take part in the semi-final. Back in the pods, the artists are approaching their final half hour.
Kat, what's in your mind?
Horizon line, actually.
Horizon line?
Yeah.
What about it?
I don't know whether it's too high, too low, too straight, too blue.
You can't get away from that, can you? It's like the head on a pint of beer.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the happiest I've seen you all day.
I still have quite a lot of work to do on the cliffs. Wondering what to do with the foreground. It's definitely something I need to focus on a little bit more, I think.
So right now, I need to add some darker tones and get that contrast up. I am feeling nervous, but optimistic.
It's crunch time for our 8 artists as they near the end of their 4-hour challenge, painting Aberdeenshire's ruined Dunnottar Castle.
I think I finished. It wasn't easy, to be honest, because the sun moved very quick. So I needed to change the colors a few times. I want to just stay and relax and enjoy the lovely time here.
I'm just going to stitch this bit and then I'm going to give it a good press. Now just about getting there.
I'm quite glad I went for a triptych. I've never done one before. I think if the next time I do one, I'll give myself about 4 days.
I have covered the board mostly. I hope that I've got a little bit of time left to do something about the sky. I'm panic painting now.
Artists, you have 5 minutes left. 5 minutes.
Oh, my God.
I am probably over-fiddling. I'm feeling really great. Does that sound convincing? No.
Artists, your 4-hour challenge is over. Please stop working and step away from your easels.
It went really quickly, I
It
thought.
did go very fast.
Yeah.
While the artists take some time to relax, the judges look at their finished artworks.
What a range of styles.
Yeah, fabulous.
Watching Alison work, I was a bit worried about the physical equivalent for the cliff face and the castle itself. And actually, she's been able to make a three-dimensional, so kind of magical way of working, really.
I think Alison's been able to create such a distinct sense of mood. It's almost slightly gothic when you actually look at the castle itself. Very effective.
So one of the things I really like about Henry's approach is that in the middle of this futurist sandwich is a really calm castle. And I think that balance that he's got between the use of his stylized forms actually works really well.
Yeah, Henry's painting just makes you happy and joyous. It's very well calibrated.
I mean, I was nervous for Jen because for a large part of the day, there was a big glaring bit of white at the bottom of that canvas, and you felt that she was putting it off, and how was she going to negotiate it? And actually, it really does work. It's interesting because it's sort of out of focus in the foreground and abstract, and then gets kind of tighter as you go into the painting.
Somehow, Christina transported us 500 years back in history with regards to capturing a sense of how scary this place could be with those deep striations on the cliff face. I think she really did manage to capture that.
She's taken this kind of ghostly, faint thing that we saw earlier on and brought it more to life, but not lost any of its soul. And I think that's really remarkable.
I do like the way Simon's given a sense of the ruined place. I mean, none of it is intact. It's spread over this vast acreage, and it's in the middle of nowhere.
I actually really like the way it's painted. It is actually beautiful, that passage of sky that runs across the three pictures. I think one of the things that I've got a slight problem with is this red at the bottom. It takes me somewhere else that I don't really want to be.
I just love the way Jess started this morning. She's obviously very experienced, and you can see that interesting use of the sea as a central motif through those two cliffs. I think she was too good. She got there too early.
I missed the sky that I saw this morning. That said, the bottom half really came alive this afternoon, and it required that much more work. But unfortunately for me, this sky is kind of textbook overcooked.
David's joyous piece of rough painting really gives me a sense of the place, and it's a lively place. It's a ruin, but stuff is happening around it. You know, even his colour, although it's heightened, seems to make sense. Unfortunately, in this type of painting, birds and boats, it becomes a postcard.
Kat's painting is, you know, really robust. That black's been used in a really effective way to show the undulation of the rock face. I think, though, unfortunately, that the treatment of the horizon line and the sea doesn't work as well for me. I just feel like there probably could have been a bit more contrast there.
Gosh, I actually really quite like the height of the sea, and it takes up so much space. And the enormity of it and the tiny bit of sky actually makes me feel like I'm sort of falling into it. I think she does that really well.
It was a surprisingly difficult subject matter because it is very beautiful and very romantic. I've got some favourites.
Me too.
I've quite surprised myself by where I've ended up going after this conversation, actually.
Artists, thank you for all your sterling work today. The time has come to reveal which 3 artists the judges have selected for their shortlist. The first artist is Henry McAlpine. The second artist on the shortlist is Jen Maidment. The third artist is Christina Chan. Thank you to all the rest of you. I hope you've enjoyed the day as much as we've enjoyed watching your work. Thank you.
As the heavens open, the judges must decide on one artist to go forward to the semi-final. To help them, they take a look at today's works alongside the artist's submissions.
So we've had a glorious day of painting in this incredibly dramatic location. We've had everything the Scottish summer can throw at us. We're left with 3 artists. Looking at Henry's 2 paintings side by side, I mean, it's a riot of colour and joy, isn't it?
I mean, Henry has dialed it down in his painting today, and I think I like it all the more for it, because when I look at the submission now, I actually find it quite hard to understand. Are they giant marching pink pigs walking through a forest? And I think the fact that he's been slightly more realistic has helped me understand what the painting is.
I'm not mad on the foliage in the foreground. I think it's too fussy. I think he needs to believe in his style enough. But joyous, full of colour, an artist really playing around with art history.
Jen gave us that charming domestic scene, and now an altogether different atmosphere in her painting today.
I mean, Jen's work is very crisp and contemporary. She's not a slave to the detail. She's manipulating them and looking for ways of reinterpreting her submission. The figure and the door are pretty realistic, but then you look at the vegetation, and Jen has found a different sort of language, and she's brought that to bear today as well with the castle.
Today, I think, it's got a bit more mood. It's more evocative. I love her treatment of sky. You know, it's so believable.
Christina's painting today, of all the paintings, I think, was hardest to see where it was going.
Yeah, when I see Christina's 2 works side by side, I realise that they're about traversing really difficult terrain. You know, it's almost like you have to fight to get across these landscapes. So I like that strangeness. That's what the work is. It's strange.
Such an organic feel to it. It became like a plant sort of growing on the paper. Very different from all the artists today.
Well, there we go. This dramatic location has produced some wonderful work today. But we need a winner.
Yep.
And a rainbow.
Henry, Jen, Christina, to get to this point is an achievement in itself, but only one of you can join us in the semi-final. The artist who the judges have selected is Christina Chan.
Oh my gosh. I feel overwhelmed. This is incredible. It's been an incredible day, and it's a bit mad. I don't think it's really sunk in. Yeah.
I'm just absolutely thrilled to still be selected for Final 3, but Christina was such a well-deserved winner and such a great day. I'm just lost for words right now.
Christina's submission and today's work are both living things. They're very strangely organic. She has very strange qualities in her work, both in their expression, but also the way she works. And I've never seen anything like it, and that's very rare. I can't wait to see what she does next.
I'm happy with what I produced. I was a bit on edge because I had to adjust so many times, but in the end, I liked what came out and really grateful the judges did too.
If you'd like to be a pod artist in next year's competition, or want to find out more about the work of our featured artists, visit skyartsartistoftheyear.tv. Next time, we're at Liverpool's historic dockside, as 8 new artists face a view with some jaw-dropping geometry.
I think this might possibly be the most complicated landscape we've ever given our pods.
So who will get themselves in a pickle with perspective?
I regret maybe not keeping it a bit simpler. Getting hot now, feeling the heat.
And who will take it all in their stride?
I'm having a great time. It's brilliant.